This is the Darling Scarp, a 320-kilometer expanse of steep escarpments, winding rivers, and rocky outcrops blanketed by a dense forest. This physical barrier separates the southwest corner of Australia from the rest of the country, and was once the hub of a busy timber industry, now long gone. Though steam locomotives are very much a thing of the past, the sound of steam engines can still be heard climbing these hills on the rails of the Hotham Valley Tourist Railway. Ten years prior to the line closing to revenue-earning traffic, a small group of local volunteers recognized the line still had more to offer, and in 1974 began running a tourist service over an 8-kilometer section of track. Then by 1976, they were organizing steam service specials extending as far away as the main city of Perth, 85 kilometers to the north. At its peak, the Hotham Valley operated over 32 kilometers of track from Pinjarra to the small locality of Etmillan, with the Ranger service running upgrade from Pinjarra to Dwellingup, and the force train running from Dwellingup to Etmillan. Today, though, the line only operates as far west as the old sidings at a place called Isandra, reducing the line to just 22 kilometers. The primary reason for this is the need for bauxite trains to gain trackage access from Pinjarra South Junction to Illumina Junction in order to access the Oakley refinery located west of Pinjarra. In this film, we'll be following the Hotham Valley's Ranger service as it heads west towards Isandra and then back to Dwellingup. We filmed this over 3 separate trips during the year of 2019. The history of the line dates back to the early 1900s, which saw a rapidly growing timber industry along the Darling Ranges. Several lines were built into the hills, with this line being built and completed in 1910, connecting Pinjarra with the mills in Dwellingup. Over the course of the next few years, continued demand for jarrah wood saw the line extended in stages until it reached the wheat belt town of Narrogin in 1926. It was there the line connected with the Southwestern and Great Southern lines, 153 kilometers east of its origins in Pinjarra. In 1961, a fire destroyed the timber trade in the area, bringing the start of the line's decline, with the first section between Narrogin and Dwellingup being abandoned in 1969. Finally, the line was left with just a once-a-week freight service that would run its last in 1984. Bringing an end to nearly 75 years of revenue service on the line. Today, the old timber town of Dwellingup is now the current home and hub of the Hotham Valley Railway. With its original station still in place, this is where all trains on the line depart from and return to. The railway's active coaching stock and locomotives are stored and maintained in a long covered shed on the opposite side of the station. Currently, W-Class number 945 Banksiadale is the only working steam locomotive on the line. Let's watch as 945's crew runs around their train in preparation for the next downhill run. Number 945 was part of a 60-strong class built by Bayer Peacock in England. These locomotives arrived on the WAGR in 1951, with the last members of the class being withdrawn from revenue-earning service in 1972. The W class was designed with an axle loading of 9.5 tons that enabled them to work over the entirety of the WAGR network. The light loading combined with exceptional pulling power saw the W class become a regular sight across the line with its unforgiving steep grades. The train will encounter the first of these grades as it departs the station for the downhill run. It is a short but very noticeable descent down to the first road crossing. After leaving Dwellingup, number 945 will take its train through a section of light woodland towards a location known as Marinup. The line has a light descent till Marinup, where the gradient begins to drop dramatically as it begins its steep descent down the side of the Darling Scarp. The screeching sound of metal wheels on metal rails betrays the train as it nears one of the few road crossings on the line. This road runs parallel to the railway between here and its western terminus, allowing for a good view of the train when chasing it. At this point, the line starts its steepest descent across a series of curves before recrossing the road and then beginning to level out in the valley below. The Hotham Valley generally runs trains of 5 carriages in length, with a diesel helper on one end to assist with braking going downhill and providing extra power going back uphill. This comes in the form of either a F-class or C-class locomotive. The need for the helper is in part due to the weight of the carriages, which are not original WAGR, but were bought from South African Railways secondhand. In 1987, the Hotham Valley needed to replace its aging fleet of wooden WAGR carriages and found 25 carriages in South Africa that had been made redundant but were in excellent condition. Being built of Corten steel, they are considerably heavier, but this will ensure the longevity of their use on the line. Nearing the base of the main grade, the train crosses over what is simply known as 13-kilometer Bridge. One of the few structures on the line, this bridge was overhauled in 2005 with the need to replace several key timbers that were found to be rotten, the physical work only taking a couple of weeks to complete. Just before Sandra, there was once a stopping place called Brookdale, which is now long gone. The most notable thing about this spot is the small crest that the train has to tackle before running the short distance to the terminus on the other side of a series of open fields. Sandra was once the location of a sand pit that was used in the original construction of the line. Nowadays, it serves as the current terminus of the line with only a passing loop for the steam trains to run around their train before the trip back to Dwellingup. Now that the locomotive has run around its train, it will be facing forward on its climb back up the hill after coming down it in reverse, which is normal operation on the line. We will now follow the train as it climbs back up the grade, saving the best of the show till last. On one of our trips to the railway, we had heard that the diesel helper had failed whilst the train was in Sandra. This had required the train crews to split their train in two so that number 945 could return the train to Dwellingup, though in two sections. Though an annoyance for the passengers and crew, this did give us a rare sight of catching 945 running light through Brookdale and then returning with the second portion under its own unassisted power back to Dwellingup. We are now at a location marked as Beginning, which sits near the start of the grade. There used to be a water tower here, which was fed by a nearby dam. From here, number 945 digs in on its long climb back up to the top of the ridge. Let's listen now as we hear the locomotive work hard with the assistance of the F-class. Over the 14 kilometers between Isandra and Dwellingup, the line climbs 226 meters, or 764 feet. This gives an average grade of 1.6% across this section of the line, and combined with the tight, curving nature of this route, this line is a challenge for any locomotive. After working hard, the train nears the top of the longest grade along a curving ridgeline just west of Marinup. Here, the train appears from the cover of the forest before being swallowed up once again. 18 examples of the W class have been preserved. However, most are static displays or in long-term storage pending overhaul. The only running examples are on the Pitchy Ritchie Railway in South Australia and here on the Hotham Valley Railway. With only a couple examples running today, it is a welcome sight to see that classmate W945 Bankseedale, the most recent restored example of this class, running on home metals once again after its lengthy 8-year overhaul. Here we see her completing the final stretch of its uphill journey to Wellington. Steam in Western Australia is mainly a static affair these days. With a lack of interest and funding, there is now only the Hotham Valley that still runs trains to this day, and all through the commitment of the volunteers that maintain and operate the line. We hope that you have enjoyed our feature of the Hotham Valley Railway and encourage you to visit and help keep this unique part of history alive. To finish off this film, here are some extra clips for you to enjoy. Thank you for watching this production of Sidetracked. We hope you enjoyed it and hope that you'll stay for much more. Be sure to subscribe and like down below. And if you feel like leaving a comment, be sure to do so. Thank you from everyone here at Sidetracked.